So there was this pretty cool place outside in the woods that I was going to shoot this video in today. According to the forecast, there's a 0% chance of rain today. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on this channel. My name is Chase, and by now, hopefully you know that I am doing something this month called Vlog Pastor. So every week during this month, myself and 6 other pastors who are also vloggers on YouTube are answering the same question. This week, the question that we're all answering is, tell us about one of your spiritual development practices. It's not really a question, like one of the other vlog pastors mentioned this week.
You're telling me to tell you. It's more of a command.
But I am here to answer the command and tell you about one of my spiritual development practices. Now, just like last week when we were talking about worship, I was kind of happy to see this question because I actually just recently preached a sermon on this.
He says spiritual disciplines are those practices found in Scripture that promote spiritual growth among believers in the gospel of Jesus Christ. They are habits of devotion, habits of experiential Christianity that have been practiced by God's people since biblical times. In other words, there are our spiritual workouts or our spiritual practices.
But the question is not what are spiritual disciplines or spiritual development practices, but it is what is one of our spiritual development practices. And so I've mentioned several of them in other videos. One of the things I try and do every morning is before my feet even hit the floor, spend time in the Word. And so every morning when I wake up, the very first thing I do is grab my phone and go straight to the Bible app. Not Facebook, not Twitter, not any of that other stuff, but just go straight to the Bible app. That way I can just start my morning off just right away by being in the Word. Another spiritual discipline of mine that I also can't do with the heavy rain outside today, I try and spend time walking every single day and using that time when I'm walking to be intentional about spending time with the Lord. However, this week we're only supposed to talk about one of our spiritual disciplines, and so I want to try and answer the question this week because last week when we were talking about worship, Amanda said this. What did you say about my Vlog Pastor's video last week?
Said that you never answered the question. Like, you were so vague. You didn't actually answer anything.
So I'm actually going to try and answer the question this week like I'm supposed to. So the one that I want to hone in on the most today, and you probably could have guessed by the title of this video, is meditation. Probably didn't see that one coming. When I use the word meditation, I'm not talking about this kind of meditation. No, I'm not like Rafiki up in a tree, you know. But when I use the term meditation, I'm talking about just focusing on something. And usually, you know, that's spending time in the Word and meditating on God's Word like the psalmist commands us to do. But also one of the habits that I've picked up this year is meditating specifically or focusing on hymns. Amanda and I started going through this book in July, and so we're not very far, but it's called 101 Hymn Stories. Now, you probably could have guessed by the title, but it's about 101 hymn stories. And you can read the hymn, and then also it shares the story and the backstory behind the hymn. And so what we've done is we started doing this in July, so we're not very far, but every day, every morning, we look at one of the hymns, and we read the background story about how the hymn was written and who wrote it and about the author of the hymn and how it's been used. And then we spend time just letting the words from that hymn soak into us. And we usually try and find a version of the hymn that we like and kind of let that be our theme for the day. But this has been something that's been extremely helpful to me, and I think it's been extremely helpful to Amanda as well. All right, so this week's question is about spiritual disciplines. And so I said that we've been working our way through the hymn book. How's that been for you?
I really enjoyed going through the hymns. Hymns were not something that I really liked when I first became a Christian. I became a Christian in college. I just thought hymns were just so old and was only listening to contemporary music. And as I've matured in my faith, I've actually really enjoyed listening to hymns. And so it's really nice to be able to just read the hymns and then also read the story behind the hymns. So a lot of the hymns were written like out of tragedy and different circumstances. So it's really cool to be able to connect with hymns that way, and it changes the way you hear the hymn and you sing the hymn.
I think sometimes when people talk about hymns, it can get easy to get legalistic and say, you know, every true Christian should listen to hymns, or, you know, throw out all that other modern Christian music and gospel and only stick to the hymns. No, that's not the point. And maybe hymns aren't something that you can connect with as well, but I want to share 3 reasons why I think hymns are still important for us today. Number 1, they're packed with clear, concise theology. I'm not saying that modern Christian music lacks theology, but to some degree it lacks the same level of theological depth and clarity. So much worship music today is so vague, and it's not necessarily wrong, but you listen to it and you're like, what does that mean?
There's no takesies, backsies with me. That's just how it is.
What? Number two, it gives us a direct tie to church history. It reminds us that we're part of something much bigger than ourselves. We're not just part of the 21st century church, but no, we're part of the church that started back all the way in the book of Acts. Fellow Christian YouTuber David Wesley made a video last year called The Evolution of Worship Music. And he starts back in the year 500 with the hymn, Be Thou My Vision.
Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart.
And I didn't even realize that hymn was written almost 1,500 years ago. But how amazing is it that we can still sing the same words? And yes, the words might have been modified a little bit in translations, and the melody could have even changed a little bit, but the core words that we were singing tie us back to something so much bigger than ourselves. And it's also amazing, and one of the things, again, I love about this book is hearing the stories behind the hymns. We get to look at figures in church history like Charles Wesley, who wrote so many hymns. How many hymns did Charles Wesley write? I don't even know. Charles Wesley wrote 8,989 hymns. That is insane.
It's
almost
9,000!
Wesley wrote an average of 10 lines of verse every day for 50 years. That's crazy, but when we still sing those hymns today, it ties us back into church history. And many of us know some of the great stories about the hymns, like how John Newton, the guy who wrote Amazing Grace, was a captain of a slave ship. And when you think about the depth of his depravity and how God saved him out of that, it really makes the amazingness of God's grace seem all the more amazing. Or you might know about the author of It Is Well With My Soul, whose whole family and basically his whole life went up in flames, and how he was still able to sing It Is Well With My Soul. A lesser known story would be that of the guy who wrote I Have Decided to Follow Jesus. In India, 150 years ago, there was a missionary that was sent to India. And they showed up and they were met with severe opposition, but one man ended up becoming a Christian. And he told his friends, and Christianity was contagious, and it started to spread, and the chief of the village wasn't too happy about this, so he called the man and his family forward and said, hey, you need to denounce Christianity or we're gonna take your children's life. And the man said, I have decided to follow Jesus. There's no turning back. And so they shot his kids with arrows. They brought his wife forward and said, you have one more chance. She's going too. And he said, even if none go with me, still I will follow. I have decided to follow Jesus. There's no turning back. So they said, you have one last chance. You're next. And he said, the cross is before me. This world is behind me. There's no turning back. And they took his life. See, these stories behind the hymns that we sing, some of which are written centuries and centuries ago, just tie us into something that's much bigger than just 21st century Christianity. And then there's so many other reasons that I think we should listen to hymns and why I use hymns as a spiritual discipline. But the third one I want to mention today would be just the ease. Right? So many of the Christian songs that we sing in church and so many of the songs that we hear on the radio are not easy to sing, if we're being honest. You actually have to be a decently good singer to sing some of those songs.
Forever, he not and dreams fall. The arms of angels, the standing side.
But one of the things I love about hymns is just the ease of the melody. Like, you don't have to be a great singer to be able to sing hymns. I heard somebody say once, you know, one of the things that's great about hymns are those are the types of songs that you can sing while laying on your deathbed. I know that might sound morbid, but the reality is that that's the situation that all of us are gonna end up in eventually in our lives. Again, I'm not trying to sound like a legalistic about this and say, oh, modern Christian music is wrong. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. The point I'm trying to make is just that I think there's something that's lost when we don't listen to hymns, and listening and meditating on hymns has been a spiritual discipline of mine that has helped me get through some of the crazy parts of 2020. Favorite one?
Like favorite version of a hymn?
Yeah.
I would say Chelsea Moon. Okay. What a Friend. We have in Jesus.
I'll link to that up here somewhere. Maybe it's up there.
I like folky kind of music.
But let us know in the comments, what is your favorite hymn and your favorite version of a hymn? Let us know in the comments below. So thanks for watching this video. Before you go, I want to say thanks to all of you who've been tuning in during Vlogust. Vlogust usually means vlog every day. In August, I haven't done every day, but I posted 3 videos a week during this month and have a few more still to post. But I want to draw your attention especially to one coming out this Monday. This Monday is the last Let's Talk About It video that I'm posting this month. And we have a special guest coming on this channel that I don't think you guys are gonna wanna miss. So make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. And as always, I will see you on another video. Go listen to a hymn. And that's not a suggestion.
It's more of a command.